hold on, take it away.
All right, glad we have a quorum. Let's go through the materials, and what I would like to do, Joanna, if you could put on the screen where we can see the particular, let's start with each one of the ones that were proposed, and let's go through those. I know that there are some comments right there in the middle.
Let's start with the minutes. Sam?
Okay, well, we can start with the minutes. Everybody saw a copy of the minutes. Are there any additions or amendments to the minutes?
This is Laureen, and oh, Sam?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is just really a typo, but down in the general motion 2, my name is there twice. So one of those can be deleted.
All right.
You were really important, Lorraine. Sorry, there's me being self-conscious. Katrina, can you make note of that change?
Actually, we were just trying to emphasize that she was there.
Yeah.
Okay, we will amend those.
All right. With that in mind, do I have a motion concerning the minutes? Don't everybody speak at once.
Laureen moves approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Heather will second.
All right, any further discussion?
Sam?
No further discussion. All those in favor? How do you want to do this vote?
Sam, I think Leslie's ready to do a roll call vote. No?
All
Yes?
right, why don't you do that?
And she'll be ready to do those on all of these so that we had a little trouble tracking everyone's votes last time. So a quick roll call vote.
All right, you've got the roll in front of you. Will you just call us? I'm first. Yes.
Michael Zimmerman, is he on the call or did I miss that one already?
He's not. Just call people's names. Go through it.
Michael Drexel. Sorry, Drexel.
You're all right. Yes.
Laureen Kamalu.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you moved. Kim Cordova.
Yes.
You get called or no? Ryan Luce.
Yes.
Representative Ferry.
Yes.
And who else have I moved that I haven't seen? Rich Morrow.
Aye.
Is Senator Weiler on the call? No. Mary Corcoran, is she on the call?
Hey, Leslie, I'm just gonna read through the names. Pam?
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
Yes.
Sean?
Aye.
Margaret?
Yes.
Heather, did we get to you?
You do now, yes.
Okay. Has anyone not voted on the record? Great. We will speed that process up as we go along. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, the first proposal is on the screen. Is the alternate proposal by Cache County. The summary was prepared, and Joanna, can you tell us how that came about?
I'm going to let Greg talk about Cache County.
Okay.
So this proposal, the county contacted us essentially saying that they needed boots on the ground. They wanted more funding to go toward their attorneys, and they weren't sure why a new social worker position had been approved. Turns out that actually was an error on my part. I marked that as a renewal, and it was actually a new request. And so we funded that position in error. So they basically said, you know, we don't want that new position, but we do want to reallocate some funding to the 3 contracts that are there. And so essentially it would increase the drug mental health conflict contract, which is held by the managing defender, in cash. That would put their total compensation to $90,000. That's on par with other managing defenders of single counties across the state. The second thing, it would increase the admin assistant by $2,400, which is basically a flat renewal from the previous grant from last year, and then increase the part-time juvenile defender by $7,200, which is essentially 85.7% of last year's grant amount. This would also
And number
return
five-
$14,800 to the IDC as a reserve.
Okay, so that's what I was getting to. Item number 5 is really the critical one here, right? It returns that amount. Are there any comments concerning this summary from anyone?
I will just say that the IDC reserves we would be happy to take that back. We are facing some budget issues that we didn't totally prepare for when we made the full grant award. So I can definitely use that in the office budget, just to be clear.
All right. With that in mind, is there a motion to be made concerning this alternate proposal on behalf of Cache County?
Sam, this is Heather. I'll make a motion that we approve the alternate proposal submitted by Cache County.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Margaret Lindsay will second it.
Any further discussion on this?
So, yeah,
I
Sam,
think-
I actually have a couple of questions about it. So we had thought that we were funding, as I understand it, a social worker. Now, we're increasing some salaries. Is that consistent with what we're doing in other areas also with other funds? Because in some of the other grants, I understand that this is important, and it seems as though it's in line with what's happening in some with some of the other grants. But my only question is, are we increasing some salaries in this instance where in other instances we are maybe doing a budget adjustment with some reductions? And is that consistent with what we're doing with the other grants? And then I will mute myself.
Yeah, this is Michael Zimmerman. I would just notice that that's part of the reason that I didn't feel persuaded that Washington County should get more money, because they were just raises.
Yeah, and Rich, the answer to your question is, you're right. They're asking to reallocate their award and fully fund some things. The problem with keeping it consistent is that we made the error in the social worker. So we could go through and reevaluate everything, or we could say, because of our error, we can do this here. But I agree that it does cause an internal conflict if we don't do that overall, and I don't know how we would then go in and do that overall. So one option, I mean, you don't have to take their proposal as requested. You could amend it. You could say, cut the social worker out and leave the other fees as is. You can do any number of creative things with it based on how you feel, but it's a good question, Rich.
Are there any other comments? Okay, there was a motion and a second. Are we ready to vote on this? And if we are, then let's do a vote. Do you have the list,
Yep.
Joanna?
I'm ready. Just to be clear, Heather, you made the motion and Commissioner Kamala, you seconded?
Yes.
Okay. Then I will take you both as yes votes.
Wait,
Sam-
I don't think I was the second.
Margaret Lindsay?
Yeah.
Were you-
That's what
Okay.
it was.
Yeah, Margaret.
Okay, Commissioner Kamalu.
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Ryan?
Yes.
Heather? You moved. Oh no, you guys are jumping.
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Representative Ferry?
Yes.
I'm sorry, you guys are jumping around in my view. Mike Drexel?
Yes.
Mike Zimmerman?
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes, again.
Sorry, you're jumping around. I don't have a list off the page. We'll get this down. I see that Mary Corcoran just joined. I don't know that do you have a vote or an opinion on the Cache County grant request, Mary?
I do, and it's yes.
Great, then we have a unanimous vote by all present at the time, unless I missed someone.
I'll say aye.
Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
Last but not least. You guys just
All
stay
right,
in place until
will you put the next county on the monitor, please? Duchesne?
Yes, so this proposal we actually received about an hour ago. So I apologize if I'm not quite eloquent when I'm explaining this, but essentially Duchesne County explained to us that they have several ongoing murder cases that will lead to them utilizing a large amount of conflict counsel over the year. They're worried about that. And so what their proposal would do essentially is eliminate the second juvenile contract that is currently grant funded. And then it would increase the spending on adult criminal conflict by $30,000. It would increase the juvenile conflict counsel budget by $20,000 in grant funding, and then increase the defense resources by $7,600 in grant funding.
So this one is hard and it just came in, so we can do a couple different things. You can vote now or vote, we can come back and talk about it. We got some feedback, some more detail from Lance Dean, who's the Uinta County managing public defender and who has worked with Duchesne. And he agreed that the conflict contract at 40,000 is too high because the numbers are pretty low on that. And the juvenile numbers are pretty low. And the rate is a little bit higher than the Uinta County rate. He doesn't like the idea of getting rid of the juvenile contract, but if the funding went towards the conflict contract, that might be able to, a way to absorb it. The one thing I would definitely say is putting that 7,600 in defense resources, to Rich's point that he just made, would be inconsistent with every other grant we've awarded. We have not given defense resources because we made the effort to fund people. So we can either, you could deny that 7,600 or you could use the 7,600 in juvenile conflicts. It's a little confusing, I know. If you have other questions.
Joanna or Greg, this is Margaret. As I understood it, they were hoping to take that second juvenile contract and switch it to an hourly rate. Is that what they were looking at doing? So instead of having a second juvenile contract, they would contract with individuals for cases on an hourly basis. Is that what I was reading earlier in their letter?
Yeah, so essentially it would move some of the funding here to this juvenile non-contract conflict. So non-contract's a little misleading, but it's basically juvenile conflicts handled by someone who is not on a regular day-to-day contract with the county, and that would be done hourly.
So Greg, I have a question, a couple of questions actually about this. So they've given us some notice that they're, as I understand it, and tell me if I'm wrong, they're anticipating some additional conflicts. And do they have people that are in the queue for conflicts? And what's the conflict contract look like? And how is it decided? And when do they make determinations about when that money might be spent, and how are they intending to do that? Have they given you any detail about that?
So the letter was that they wrote, the alternate proposal is included in the meeting materials, and it goes into detail about the cases that they're facing currently. Essentially, they've got 6 pending murder cases that they will need at least 4 conflict counsel to cover. And they expect a majority of those cases to go to trial.
And Greg,
So
they have
that's-
attorneys on all of those cases, and the conflict payments were ordered by Judge Chiara, and they're paid on an hourly basis, Rich. I don't know that there's a contract. I don't know how they handle it. I think because of the unusual nature of this large number of defendants, they may not have had the contracts in place. I may be wrong in that, and we can figure that out. But I do know that they are paid hourly based on what Judge Chiara ordered.
And maybe I can shed
Yes.
some light on this.
Thank you, Mary.
First of all, I must recuse myself from a vote on this because I am one of the 6 conflict attorneys appointed on one of these cases. So there is one case in Duchesne County with 6 defendants currently charged with first-degree murder. All of them charged for the homicide of the same victim. And originally, all 6 were charged in aggravated murder cases. And originally, all 6 defendants had attorneys appointed through the court, but to be paid by the state fund for aggravated murder cases. And each of those defendants had 2 lawyers and other 2 Rule 8 qualified, death qualified lawyers and resources. Then on the eve of a preliminary hearing, they amended to be simple murder, obviously a term that is difficult to use, but a simple murder case as opposed to aggravated murder case. So each of the defendants lost one of the attorneys they had had, and the state funding evaporated. And then I filed a motion to clarify representation, and the court has ordered that we will continue to receive the hourly rates that were previously negotiated for defense of these defendants under the old state fund contract. And the cases have progressed now for about a year and a half under those arrangements. And the cases are set for trial. There are 2 of them set for trial. The first to occur, okay, to further complicate matters, the court severed the trials of all 6 defendants. So they are to be tried one after the other, and 2 of them are set to go to trial one after the other in September, and anticipated to be about 10 trial days each. And those trials, those 2 defendants who are incarcerated and asserting actual innocence are gonna go. I'm convinced of that. So that's kind of the setup for this. It's an unusual event.
So Mary, do you understand the defense resources to be related to a specific request in the Tenement case? Or do you have a knowledge of any pending?
Well, I requested an additional investigator resources be approved, and the court ordered the county to pay $7,500 in my case for additional investigator resources. I have no idea what the other defendants have requested.
That's
okay.
fine.
I do have an idea. It's not actual knowledge, but by rank hearsay, I understand that other defendants have requested a cell telephone expert in terms of tracking cellular telephone movement by towers and Wi-Fi pings. And I understand that somebody has requested a DNA expert to assess some of the DNA evidence.
And just one last question. So are you still Are you under a new contract with Duchesne, or you were just under contract with the aggravated murder board? And that's
I was under contract with the murder board. Nobody suggested that I should sign a new contract, and I felt I was months and months into a case with a client charged with murder, and I thought I should continue, and I asked the court to clarify that I should continue in the case and be paid the same hourly rates as in the previous contract, and the court signed that order. So I have no contract, but I have a court order.
Okay, so that's Judge Chiara's order on those conflict contract. You see,
And my order may just be as to me, or it may by extension extend to 5 other defense attorneys. That probably remains to be argued, but that order is out there.
so the takeaway is that Duchesne is facing pretty significant system side spending based on that decision to change from aggravated murder, where the state pool that they pay into would pay for it, to non-aggravated murder, meaning that the county is responsible for paying for everything on its own.
Yes, though I would not complain, of course, about that decision, so.
But I will
Not to be charging my client with the death penalty anymore.
Right. I would like to speak for Pam, not Pam, but the eliminating the juvenile contract, the case numbers are down. We definitely need to make sure we have coverage for the juvenile court contract because of the responsibility we have for that under SB 32. And that was why that was originally funded. So we need to make sure if we change things that they still have adequate juvenile representation. I know that we wanted this all to be a quick meeting, but I cannot make these decisions without your help. So I really need input from you all.
No, and I really appreciate the questions that have been asked, because that, and Mary, thank you for the description of what is going on in that case. Does that prompt any other questions from anyone else regarding this?
Yeah,
And
so
if not,
well, Sam, I do think we have to be a little bit careful. I think this is important funding, but how are we going to account for it, and what is it? We don't have enough knowledge to know what kind of contracts Duchesne County has cut with people, what they are able to pay, and what they're doing. I mean, I think this is incredibly important money. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just a little bit unclear about how this all works and what sort of contracts exist out there and how much money has been spent and how this money, I guess we don't even really know how this money will be spent. It will be presumably going to conflict counsel, which I think is important, but those things seem to be a little bit unclear to me. And I think, again, we probably want to be consistent about knowing some answers to those questions.
well, let me make a suggestion. This just came in, and we are trying to address it along with the other ones that came in before. I think you raised some very good questions, Richie. I would like to send this back to them with those questions, Joanna, to see if we can get answers. And if we can get those answers to inform us a little more, then we will be in a better position to vote on this. And what I suggest is that we pass on this with that in mind right now, and we get to the others so we can address the others. And once we get that information, then maybe we can do just one little quick call to address this issue as to Duchesne.
Mr. Chairman, may I also ask an additional question or propose an additional question be added to that inquiry with Duchesne? And that is to know exactly what the current structure of their juvenile contracts are and how the work is divided.
I agree. That will better inform.
Understanding of what exactly they're seeking to cut or to reduce.
So
Mr.
put
Chair,
any questions you want me to ask Duchesne in the chat, please, so I have them all there.
Mr. Chair, this is Sean Milne. I would make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Morrow, second.
Michael.
Okay. All those in favor of passing on this until we get responses to the questions that are being proposed that we asked to Shane? All those in favor, will you take roll?
Sam,
Yes.
Commissioner Kamalu,
Yes.
Mary,
Abstain.
Kim,
Yes.
Michael Zimmerman,
Yep.
Michael Drexel,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Sean,
Aye.
Ryan,
Yes.
Representative Ferry,
Yes.
Rich,
I,
Am,
Aye.
Margaret Lindsay.
Aye.
That's it.
All right, so it passes. Let's get on to the next county, please. Salt Lake County.
Okay, so the proposal here from Salt Lake County, the county essentially is looking to decrease the budget for their adult criminal contract on the system side for the remainder of their current fiscal year by $1,170,000. Those reductions may continue into the next fiscal year, but they have not passed a budget for the county. The explanation provided here by their Associate Director of Human Services identifies that Legal Defender Association currently has a surplus that would be available potentially to cover the revenue shortfall and the reduction in budget. So this is a change only to the system side of the grant award budget.
Rich, do you want to say anything about this or answer any questions?
no, I think that's accurate. I mean, we have been in discussions with our county. We have achieved savings. I mean, one of the differences between us and other county entities, we are an independent contractor with Salt Lake County and sole source provider. And we are a 501c3. We have been in the process of saving money, chiefly because of a move that we have initiated and completed, where there are lots of outlays. When COVID-19 hit, we had discussions with the county. They are aware that we have surplus money that we have kept, and part of that is for future rainy day sorts of things. And so we've not returned the money back to them, and we are using that money as ongoing funding as a result of a reduction that they have given us with the knowledge that we have that money in our bank account.
All right, is there a motion to be made concerning this proposal?
I move approval of the alternate proposal by Salt Lake County. It's Lorraine.
Thank you, Lorraine. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion on this? I assume that you're going to abstain on this, Rich?
Yes, I abstain.
Okay, with that abstention in mind, I say yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Michael Zimmerman,
Yep.
Heather,
Yes.
Sean,
Aye.
Margaret Lindsay.
Yes.
Pam, I don't think it affects your budget, so I think you don't need to abstain, but Pam?
Yes.
Representative Ferry,
Yes.
Michael Drexel,
Yes.
and Mr. Luce.
Yes.
You didn't get my vote, but it would be yes.
Because you seconded it, Mary, that's why I didn't.
Oh, well, sorry.
I was assuming.
Good point.
It would be redundant. Anyway, that's fine.
Did we get
Next.
Heather and Sam's vote? I missed those two.
Heather was a yes.
And Sam was a yes. Leslie, I'm recording them also.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so that passed. Alternative proposal by Sevier County. Can you please give us an explanation on this?
Yes, so this is a proposed change in the system side spending on the budget. Again, no change or effect on the grant funds. The bottom line is the same. What is being proposed is a decrease to the primary district defender contract by $7,000 in county funding, as well as a decrease to the primary justice contract by $2,000. And that money would be used then to increase the managing defender contract by $5,500, provide an additional $200 to the admin assistant contract, $300 to the conflict provider, and $3,000 to the primary child welfare provider.
So some of the background explanation for this were that we didn't cut everyone evenly when we cut Sevier, and that the managing defender was going to have trouble telling some people they got bigger cuts than others. But what we did look at was some of the comparative cuts made to other managing defenders. And so this then would make that somewhat inconsistent on the managing defender side. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I was going to find an example. So she manages 2 counties, which is similar to Lance Dean, who manages Uinta and Daggett. And I can't do the math quickly, but just to be aware that that doesn't mean you shouldn't just vote to approve it, though.
Zero's out, right?
Yeah, it's no increase whatsoever. It's just a reallocation, and quite frankly, they're boots on the ground, and if that's what they need, then that's.
Yeah.
All right, any further discussion on this? Is someone ready to make a motion?
Yeah,
motion to approve.
Then I'll second.
All right, all those in favor? Sam, yes?
Commissioner Kamalu?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Michael Zimmerman? He's nodding, Michael Zimmerman. Are you nodding? That's a yes. Heather?
Yes.
Sean?
Aye.
Margaret Lindsay?
Yes, at this point.
And Pam, you moved, right?
Yes.
Who seconded it?
Brian,
Brian.
I'm a
Okay.
yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Representative Ferry?
Yes.
Michael Drexel?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, this passes. Thank you. The next county?
I think it's Wayne. No,
So the next is actually Summit.
I'll do this one,
Summit.
Greg. So Summit was asking, as of 2 days ago, to have a reallocation of some spending, but as of about 12:30 today, we got notice from Summit County that they are declining our grant award. They are just facing too much budget insecurity. I asked what they plan, how they plan to cover our grant funded people, and they don't know yet. They were trying to look at it sort of more holistically. They hope to come back. It was a $48,000 grant award. The only vote I would ask for here is just that you vote to allow us to deallocate that and apply it to the office expenses that we are facing right now. We will be able to figure those out and figure out if we can give anything back pretty soon. We could use that funding to rebalance it. So just to vote to reallocate the $48,000 Summit County award.
I move to reallocate.
Second.
All right, any further discussion?
So Joanna, by
Sam?
reallocate, what does that mean?
Yeah, I realize I should not have used that word. To
No.
what's the word, Greg?
Deobligate.
Deobligate, thank you. Deobligate is the word I'm looking for.
Stay in the program, Rich.
Sam, this is Mike Drexel. Could I ask a question of Joanna?
Sure.
Joanna, is there a lesson for us to learn here with their rejection of the grant funds? I know there's probably some unknowns on our end, but was there something that the commission could have done differently that would have resulted in these grant funds being accepted and useful to Summit County?
I wish I knew the answer to that, Mike. It came in so recently. We got an email back and the county manager didn't have a complete, clear idea at this point. So I don't know. I mean, they had just asked for Defender data accounts and we're getting set up. We had connected them with Lance Dean and Uinta as an idea to possibly help them with regionalization and organizing things. So I don't know. I think they have taken a pretty severe budget hit with COVID because of their numbers, and they just really don't know.
That was going to be my.
Yeah, I
Summit,
get that. Go ahead, Sam, sorry.
Summit County has been one of those counties that's been greatly affected by COVID. And I mean, some of the things that I have heard and read about their budget situation is dire because they closed down and have closed down again. So many businesses are not even open at all. And that's a hit to the county overall. And I don't know where our grant fits, but I agree that we need to continue to seek cooperation and, get input from them to try and get them back into our system, get them in our system.
This is Michael Zimmerman. I have a question. Do we think that they're not taking it because they can't make the match?
I think that's one of the big issues, Mike.
Chair, this is Ryan. Can I ask, is there any way under certain circumstances we can waive the match or do something else? Because I'd hate to see a system not do anything instead of do something when there is money, knowing that we need the money too, I guess.
If Senator Weiler was here, he would remind me to remind you that we have issues when counties decrease their baseline funding. Salt Lake County was a particular exemption to that because they had it covered elsewhere. This would be, and we don't even know that they are reducing their budget, right? We don't have that much information. We can certainly encourage them to come back, right, and see what we have left over.
But I also think in a broader sense, this is not the first time we're going to see this. I know we talked about this at the last meeting. We are likely to see this with many of our funding partners that we deal with over the course of time. We are in a pretty big unknown right now. I mean, if you look at the state of Utah and what is likely to happen, it's very, very much unknown. Our tax revenue is down quite a bit. I know in Salt Lake County, we look at how our tax revenue, fortunately, a lot of Salt Lake County is property tax, but as many counties are, but lots of counties rely upon that. And I think we have to think about what our role is in that process, because I think we do have some obligation, to Mike's point, about trying to maintain partnerships with these entities that are going to need to have funding from us in order to provide the services. I don't know what that means legislatively, but I think that we have to keep that in mind, because I think it will become very important as we go down the road. And what happens on January 1, those counties that have January 1 budgets that don't have the full allocation of public defender money, does that mean we have to go back and try to claw back that money? I think that would be a mistake.
This is
Mr.
Kim.
Chairman.
I also think, though, that we have to be very aware that we are also experiencing budget cuts, right? It's not just the counties, it's the entire state. And we won't have a staff to give money to these grants and these counties if we don't have a staff, right? And so I think that the idea of rebudgeting this money in terms of reinvesting in ourselves, because foundationally the IDC has to exist before we can do anything else. And so, Rich, I absolutely agree with you, but I think that we also have to remember that we also got cut by millions of dollars. And I think that right now, as we are readjusting and as counties are readjusting their budgets and their resources, that we have to do the same and be very aware of the support that we need to give to our staff in terms of keeping things moving. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen in the future.
And this is Lana. Just in response to some of your questions about the match, there's two provisions in the statute currently, the current language, with regard to what the IDC can use grant money for. It's allowed to supplement local spending, and it's used, essentially this grant money is to assist them in providing the services that they're otherwise obligated to provide and fund. So I'm not sure that the statute currently gives you the leeway just to not require a match, but certainly if there's changes made in that, I think they would need to be legislative.
Mr. Chairman.
I know we've got a motion in a second. Could I propose what I consider to be a small amendment to the motion?
What is that, Michael?
It would be that not to disturb the primary directive of the motion, but rather to add to it a follow-up with Summit County so that we can understand the primary friction point that caused them to reject the grant award, so that we can consider on our end if there's anything that could have been done differently to structure it in a way that they wouldn't have had to reject it. Like if the primary sticking point is Defender data and migrating to Defender data, there's important reasons why we want to see that happen, but it would be helpful for us to know that that was an issue as opposed to the inability of the county as a whole to match the grant.
So can I jump in here? I think that's a good suggestion, Michael, but I think we have to recognize the reality of the situation that we're in today. Two things. It's more likely we're going to see more budget cuts before we see increases, number one. And number two, one of the biggest concerns that exists in the legislature is that we are supplanting county funds with state funds. And we see this where over and over again, we have to combat the idea that we're just trying to take over the county's responsibility on a state level, that we're creeping into that. And so I think it's important that we maintain and and I think we'll recognize that this is a joint effort, that the state is providing these matching funds. The counties need to have that match, that participation as well, in order for us to move forward with this program. Or it will be, if it looks as though, these counties can't do it, so the state's just going to do it on our own, I think we'll lose a lot of support legislatively. And so I think we need to be very mindful of that. And I think this is the right approach to say, hey, look, we'll pull this back, but we still want to figure out how we can work with Summit County or other counties as well that may say, hey, we just financially, we can't do this. We need to pursue that and say, what can we do in the future to help meet your needs? So.
Mr. Chairman, might I be able to chime in, please?
Please, Sean.
I really appreciate what Commissioner Ferry just mentioned, and Representative, I'm sorry, I was thinking IDC Commissioner, but
either one.
Not a downgrade to a county commissioner. That being said, I really appreciate what Rich and everyone has said. To give you some additional color, and it's just for context only, because I'm not disagreeing with what anybody here has said, including Representative Ferry. It's challenging. Tooele County, for example, our sales tax is up 3% year over year. That's a plus. We predict that it's because largely with so many people staying home and 3 out of 4 of our adult-aged workers who commute into Salt Lake every day for work, it meant that more people were spending it here in Tooele County than in Salt Lake Valley. Our hotel tax is a tourism-specific thing, but it is way off. And that's neither here nor there for the IDC, but it shows that the shift is different by county, because if you're one of those with the Mighty 5 campaign for tourism, that affects your sales tax and your hotel tax, and it's not hitting everybody equally. Summit is certainly one of those where, like my example with the Mighty Five, they've been hit in both counts. But what I want to caution from Rich's perspective is the property tax. Many of us counties see both as a mix, but we are already expecting a huge non-payment flood to varying degrees of property taxes. If folks, well, let me back up and give you this astonishing metric. Nationwide, in June, 32% of people who had a mortgage did not make their payment. Let that sink in for a minute. 32% of Americans with a mortgage did not make their payment. If folks are worried about their mortgage to their bank foreclosing and don't make their payment, imagine what they're going to do with local property taxes. And that will be quite a shift as well. So I'm not trying to be the doom and gloom, and I know nobody else is either, but I think those statements that have been very nicely and softly made about this will continue to be a rolling budget crunch. I really believe that local jurisdictions, Representative Ferry, are indeed going to struggle, but on differing views. So I like Drexel, would love to see, I'd love to know the explanation as to why this, and if there's, in much the same way we had questions with the prior application, if there's something more we could consider if we had more context to them dropping this. That's just me. Because I think that whatever this dropping the grant is for this one county will become quickly indicative of other counties probably following suit.
Well, and sort of to dovetail on that point, I mean, I think Representative Ferry's right. I mean, in terms of what the philosophy is about supplanting, and I think that's right. I mean, the problem is that we as an IDC have also reduced budgets within the grantees that are expecting money. So it seems a little bit unfair, and I get we're sort of in a legislative box in terms of what to do. But as an IDC, we've said to these entities, well, we're going to reduce your budgets in these areas that you were expecting because you've been paying your fair share. And then when the counties or the municipalities come in and say, we're also stuck reducing the budget because we have to. When they do that, it's sort of a one-sided agreement where now we take away all the money. And I just think we need to be aware of that. Because you know, Representative Ferry, I don't think it's anybody's intent really, and I don't think it's ever been anybody's intent to do supplanting. But when you have these really difficult budget decisions to make, you have to think about, whether or not that can go across the board. And so that's my observation.
And it might be that in January, Representative Ferry opens a bill that says that we have the ability to adapt to COVID, because a COVID-like situation, right, where budget reductions are universal and consistent. And if we are left with funding, maybe we can at least not just sit on that funding, but use it to triage and help some of temporary stamping of budget balancing. Because I can imagine no worse position to be in than sitting on $5 million that we can't award and watching the ship sink around us. So I think we could do something creative like that. And in January, we'll have an even better.
Can I make a comment?
Please.
It seems to me Representative Ferry is essentially telling us, and I think it makes sense, that we can sort of erode what the legislation says, that we're supposed to be matching to some degree county contributions, which might help in the short run, but it's going to erode what has been in my mind, remarkable legislative support for our effort. Or we can hope that the legislature, in this unusual situation, is going to be looking more broadly at problems that, ratcheting up but never ratcheting down is going to create. So I think we need to do what we need to do, retain that base of support in the legislature. That's more important. I hate to say it, but I think it's more important than disappointing some of our client counties and local governments.
I appreciate everyone's comments. This is not an easy situation. We did have a motion and a second. Is that correct?
Mike Drexel made an amended motion, and I just emailed out the communication from Summit County to all of you. I'm happy to reach out to them more, but Mike Drexel made a follow-up motion that we clarify with Summit County about if we could have done anything different, and that was not seconded.
That's why it's not being considered by the chair. Okay. I'm only going to know one.
Can we remember who made I think Pam, you moved the initial motion. Do we remember who seconded it, or would someone re-second it?
I believe I seconded it. I can't remember. I might have seconded the other one, but I will second it.
I will change from reallocate to
allocate.
Obligate.
Good.
All right, with that change in mind, all those in favor? Sam, yes.
Commissioner Kamalu?
Yes.
Mary? Kim?
Yes.
Michael Zimmerman?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Yes.
John?
Aye.
Pam, we made it. Rich?
Aye.
Representative Ferry?
Yes.
Mike Drexel?
Yes.
And Ryan, you seconded. Okay. Mary, were you on there or did you leave?
Yes.
Okay. Unanimous?
Yes, and yes.
Okay, I think we're on our
Margaret's yes.
last one.
So point of order, just if I may, I don't know that we had a chance to really invest or look into Michael's amendment to that motion. It kind of got brushed over, but I think it's a good point.
I will do that without a motion. I don't need to.
Okay.
That. I will just
Perfect.
do it.
Then let's do it. All right.
And frankly, I think that's a suggestion as to all the counties to get more input from them regarding this, because this may be just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what may be coming in the next year or so in terms of funding. So we need to really address that. All right.
Chair, may I make one remark?
Yes, please, Ryan.
Just really quickly, it may be something that where there's a declared state of emergency or something like that, we can relook at how that match works. I know it takes legislation. We have good legislators, but Joanna's point is really solid. If the legislature gave us some money, whether it's 5 million or 500,000, and we can't spend it because no one will match it, that would be a bad situation, I think.
I agree, Ryan, because ultimately it impacts what the Sixth Amendment is all about, which is what we're trying to address with this commission.
And the wonderful intent of the legislature to give us that money. If we're stopped by a law from giving it out, that's why we can fix that problem.
And it jeopardizes the relationships we've built up remarkably fast with local governments.
Well, and that's been their fear and criticism since the beginning, is what happens if we don't get your money.
Yep.
Exactly. All right, Washington County. Summary, please.
Sorry. So with Washington County, the county has requested that the grant funding that was awarded be front-loaded to the first 6 months of the grant period. So the first 2 quarters running from July 1 through December 31 of 2020.
So instead of awarding the full fiscal year through June 30th, as we have done with every single other grant, they only want our funding through December.
I would propose that we not do that, because they're hoping, this is a Hail Mary. They want to spend the money now and hope that, you know, somebody from another planet lands with a lot of money in January. And that doesn't make sense. And particularly when I don't think their justification for the increases they wanted were particularly good. And there were a lot of salary increases in there. And not that I think these people are being overpaid, but given the discussion we just had, it doesn't seem prudent to make one exception for them because they stomped their feet loudly. To put it with my usual sensitivity.
Any other comments?
So this is Kim. I looked at the grant also. We re-reviewed it, and I agree with Justice Zimmerman. I think that those of us who did relook at you know, the alternate proposal by Washington County, I think that we all agreed and were of the same mind in terms of our response to their counter proposal.
Yeah.
All right, is there a motion to be made regarding this alternate proposal?
I move we don't accept it.
Is there a second?
This is Mike Drexel. I'll second that motion that we just stick with the original grant award.
All right, any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr.
Not-
Chair, Commissioner Sean Mill.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity, or took the opportunity rather, upon hearing of the disfavor from their county commission to speak with two of them last week. Their main contention is they perceive that they've been picked on because of the percentages that others were cut, but they feel like they've been cut more. I know we've already beat the dead horse on our needs to trim this back, and you know, they're quick to counter with, well, then the state needs to pay this, because if the state, well, you know, it's that all too familiar argument. But I don't know how to make this. In other words, I don't have a solution here. I'm just stating that that's their perception of that picked on, and just want it noted in the record, since this is presumably some sort of formal record in the recording. And I'm here to represent counties. I feel like I owe it to the record to say that I did speak with Commissioner Gill and Dean, and that was their view, and I told them that I would pass it along. I don't know that it's not already understood by everybody here on the call, so I'm just doing it for record's sake more than anything.
I appreciate the comment, Sean, and I appreciate, before we get on to the voting on this, all of those who had looked at some of these counties before, and at my and to Joanna to go back and look at the proposals. I really appreciate the time that you've spent doing that. So for vote on this, I vote yes on the motion that Michael brought up.
Commissioner Kamalu?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Zimmerman? That was a yes. Heather?
Yes.
Sean?
Aye.
Margaret Lindsay?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Rich?
Aye.
Representative Ferry?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Michael Drexel, you seconded it, so I'm taking that as a yes.
Yep.
One last one.
So this alternate proposal is for Wayne County. Again, it is only an adjustment of the system side spending. However, the county is also offering to increase their own spending on mileage, as that is something that was cut from their grant. So essentially what this would do is it would decrease the primary justice court contract by $3,000. The managing defender indicated that the caseload for that attorney is down. They would then increase the primary district contract by $1,000, increase the managing defender contract by $500, and county spending would be increased from $500 to $4,000, so an increase of $3,500.
So Greg, it looks the way you've written it, like it's just a county reallocation.
Correct.
There's no IDC funding involved. They're just looking to reallocate different spending in different categories.
That's correct.
Okay. So the reason why we have to approve this is because their grant award is conditioned on the categories, and like everything else we've been discussing, changing category is a material difference in the award. However, it's not our funding they are asking for that.
All right, in light of that, is there a motion to be made?
Mr. Chairman, Margaret Lindsay makes a motion that we accept the alternate proposal by Wayne County.
Is there a second?
Michael Zimmerman, I second it.
Okay, any further discussion on this? If not, then I'm ready to call it for a vote, and I vote yes on the motion.
I was just going to ask Michael Zimmerman to tell us exactly how long it takes to drive to the Lowell courthouse, since he does it all the time, and that's how important mileage is for Wayne County. But
It takes a long time, and I'm a resident there. So.
Commissioner Kalu,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Michael Zimmerman, you voted yes, Heather,
Yes.
Yes.
John,
Aye.
Sam,
Yes.
Rich,
Aye.
Representative Ferry,
Yes.
Mr. Drexel,
Yes.
and Ryan.
Yes.
All right. There is one final motion on the motion sheet that may prevent us from having to do this again in the immediate future. If you look at it, what we would ask you to do is to let us modify any future FY21 award request modifications, just so long as the system side budget is not decreased. So if a Wayne County grant comes in where there's not really a money change, it's just a category change, we would be able to just approve that without you considering it. I don't know that we're going to get that many of them. Greg, can you pull up the chart on the number of counties that have signed their contracts? That's the other backstory to this. We've had a significant number of counties sign the awards exactly as they were awarded already, and they have been very understanding. So I don't think we will get very many of these, but if you make that final motion, it may prevent you from having to sign up for another electronic meeting. However, we will not do things that involve budget changes or cutting of funding without you.
Somebody making that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Seconded.
Second. Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Wait, I'm sorry, who made the motion? Was that you?
I did. Yeah, Representative Ferry.
Okay, and who seconded?
Sean Milne.
Sean.
Sam?
And I voted on it.
Commissioner Khamalu?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Michael Zimmerman?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
I already did. Margaret Lindsay?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Aye.
Mike Drexel?
Yes.
I'm trying to call you something different every single time, Mike. And then
Thanks. I like it. Keeps me on my toes.
Ryan, I think you're the last
Yes.
and not least. Okay. Thank you.
Either way.
Okay, just to recap, we passed on Duchesne to get some more information. Is that correct?
Yeah. How do you want to handle that follow-up?
That's why I wanted to bring it up. Once that information is received by you and others in the office, will you send it out electronically to all of us and let us look at it, and maybe we can respond to it electronically on an email?
Sadly,
Can we do?
we would have to have a brief meeting where we notice it up to take official action.
Okay. I was just trying to short circuit this as much as I could. Then let's wait to see what response we get from them, and then we will have to decide when and if we do another very short call, Zoom call. All right?
Yep, and just to reiterate, if you have questions you want me to ask Duchesne, make sure they're in the chat. I will save that and I will follow up on all of those. I'll leave it open so you can type them after the meeting ends.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Lorraine Kamalu.
Second?
Yes.
All right, all those in favor, aye. Okay, they all
Aye.
agree.
Aye.
It's done. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Have a great weekend.
Take care,
Bye.
everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.